The bridge of the Vindicator smelled of ozone, burnt wiring, and the coppery tang of blood. Captain Denis Keller wiped a grimy glove across his brow, leaving a streak of sweat and soot. His eyes, fixed on the main display, were pits of exhaustion. Outside, shattered hulls drifted in the void. The angular, alien wreckage that had once been the pride of the Galactic Council's fleets, now just floating tombs in the cold dark. "We've punched a hole clean through their core systems," came the gravelly voice of Commander Hull from the tactical station, a voice rough-sawn by years of shouting over engine noise. "Council command signals are collapsing across all bands. They're deaf, blind, and bleeding out." Denny didn't answer. His jaw was clenched, so tight the muscles ached. This wasn't victory. Not yet. Victory was a concept for history books. This was simply the turning of a page, written in fire. The true end wouldn't come until the Council's leaders were ash in orbit, their smug, condescending faces erased from existence. Not until the debt was paid in full. "Status on the Nemesis group?" he barked, his voice a low command that cut through the bridge's tense hum. Still pushing through the inner defense grid. Heavy resistance around the Council spire. Holt paused, his voice dropping. "Sir, we lost the Ragnarok. All hands." Denis got twisted into a cold, hard knot, but his face remained stone. The Ragnarok, one of the first black-hulled warships, powered by dark matter engines that bent physics into a weapon. They were built in secret after Earth was humiliated, after the Treaty of the Lar stripped humanity of its colonies, its fleets, its pride. He remembered standing on the floor of the Terran Assembly, a powerless observer as the Council's envoys, glistening, posturing reptilians, had dictated terms to Earth as if muzzling a disobedient pet. His brother, Jacob, a Navy officer with fire in his eyes, had called it what it was. Slavery with a smile, D&E. That's all this is. 2 weeks later, Jacob's transport was accidentally vaporized by Council patrols during a navigational incident. No trial. No justice. Just a sterile transmission. Regrettable. Case closed. That had been 5 years ago. 5 years of rage simmering into a plan. 5 years of black budgets, dead-end research projects, and brilliant engineers buried in unmarked graves as humanity built what the Council deemed impossible. Hulls invisible to their sensors. Weapons that tore holes in space-time. Ships designed not to fight fair, but to slaughter. "Bring us about," Denny ordered, the words tasting like rust. "Full power to forward batteries. Target the spire." "Aye, Captain." The Vindicator's engines groaned, the hum of compressed dark matter resonating through the deck like the growl of a caged god. Outside, the void shimmered, an oily blackness where the ship's drives twisted reality itself. No Council ship had been able to track them. Not even their so-called sentient overseers could predict the chaos Earth had finally unleashed. A grim smile tugged at Holt's mouth. "Message from Fleet Command, sir. Admiral Barrett says, no quarter." "Good," then he said, his voice dropping to a whisper. "They showed us none. No prisoners." The spire loomed on the screen now, an ancient, crystalline construct orbiting the Council's capital world, a beacon of a corrupt unity. A place where the rulers of 100 species had condemned humanity to second-class status. "Target lock achieved," Holt reported. "Fire." The Vindicator's main battery screamed. Streams of pure, negative energy tore through space. Black lances that made the stars themselves dim. A heartbeat later, they struck home. The spire erupted in a silent, blossoming inferno. Chunks of alien alloy spiraled outward, its vaunted shield grid shredding like tissue paper. The bridge crew let out a collective, ragged breath. But D&E's eyes remained hard. He could see what few Council ships remained scrambling, a last, desperate attempt to flee. "Patch me through to the fleet," he commanded. A tone sounded across the battered but victorious Terran ships. His voice rang out, cold and clear. "This is Captain Keller. The spire is down. The Council is broken. Pursue and eliminate all remaining hostiles. Today, we take back what was stolen. No merci. No retreat. Humanity stands alone and unchained." He killed the channel and leaned back in his command chair. For the first time in 5 years, the rage in his chest eased, just a fraction. The war was far from over. But today, they had shattered the unshatterable. Captain, Holt said quietly. Incoming transmission. Council Priority 1 channel. Nes Lipkerald. Put it through. On the screen flickered the image of High Archon Valen, once the most powerful being in the galaxy. Now pale, trembling, his eyes wide with a fear he had never known. Captain Keller, I implore you. This is madness. Cease this assault. We will negotiate. D&E cut the feed without a word. Negotiation had ended the day they murdered his brother. The fall of the Spire sent a shockwave of terror through the Council. Fleets scattered. Warlords declared independence. But the war machine of Earth, forged in hatred, did not stop to celebrate. It pushed deeper. It was during the grim, bloody work of securing Valen Prime's orbit that Special Recon found it, a Council data core buried deep within the Spire's ruins. Its decryption revealed a truth more horrifying than any battlefield. Project Subjugation. Directive 47 Beta. A systematic plan for the suppression of Terran development, including sanctioned economic sabotage, cultural erasure, and population adjustment protocols, a sanitized phrase for genocide. Orders signed by senior council members authorized the use of biological agents against resistant Terran settlements. Names, locations, proof. The galaxy will know, Holt had said, his voice hard as iron. Let them, Denny had replied. Let them all see the rot. But the data core contained something worse. A hidden project, deep black off books. Code name, Helios Protocol. Admiral Barrett's face was a mask of fury on the secure comm, a bioweapon. Denny explained, his voice flat, devoid of emotion. Engineered for planetary-scale deployment. Tailored specifically to human DNA. Primary target, Earth. The final phase was scheduled for activation next cycle. Silence. Even Barrett, a woman who had seen the worst of the galaxy, was stunned. If we hadn't struck when we did, she whispered. Earth would be a tomb, Denny finished. The last known research facility is in the Verith system. Hexus Deep Complex. This changes everything, Barrett declared, her voice steel once more. Dreos was meant to be our staging ground, but we can't leave Helios in play. I want that facility eradicated. Take the first strike group. Go personally. I want that research captured if possible. The Council doesn't get to bury this filth. The Hexus Deep Complex was a grave dug into a barren moon, a vault shielded by kilometers of rock and automated defenses. D&E led the assault himself, black-armored Marines storming sterile corridors against gene-engineered guards and desperate scientists. In the central core, surrounded by rows of sealed biocontainment pods shimmering with a deadly payload, a withered Council scientist surrendered. It's not yet primed, he shrieked. I could deactivate it. D&E's weapon never wavered. Then do it. With the facility neutralized and the data core secured, D&E stood aboard the Vindicator once more, staring at the star-dusted void. The rage he had carried for 5 years was changing. It was no longer a hot, personal fire for his brother. It had become something colder, heavier, a burden of righteous fury for his entire species. They hadn't just been subjugated. They had been marked for extinction. The Helios Protocol data was a bomb detonated in the heart of the galaxy. Images of the bioweapon pods and signed extermination orders screamed across every open channel. The Council's carefully crafted image of enlightened stewardship shattered. 15 worlds severed ties within a day. Loyal fleets refused orders. Riots erupted on core worlds. But a cornered beast is the most dangerous. A hardline faction, led by a fanatical warlord named Rythus, one of the architects of the original subjugation programs, consolidated power. Their first act was not a fleet engagement. It was terror. A Council saboteur cell infiltrated the colony of New Carthage. The biochemical strike was silent, swift, and absolute. Thousands of civilians dead in hours. Families. Children. When the report came through, D&E read it in silence. When he finished, he spoke 3 words to his intelligence chief. Find them all. The war entered a brutal new phase. The hunt for council operatives was merciless. On the front lines, Fleet Marshal Corda's hammer offensive crushed holdouts, but the resistance was fanatical. The casualty reports climbed. The war became a meat grinder, and victory was measured in the blood of Terran soldiers. It was in this crucible of fire that the next horror was revealed. Codename Cataclysm Wing. A hidden doomsday fleet armed with planet cracker devices, relics from the galaxy's ancient, dark past. And their target list began with Earth. He knows we'll come, Barrett said, her voice grim over the secure channel as Denis prepared his fleet. Rythus is laying a trap into the Lawn Rift. We have no choice, Denis replied. The Lawn Rift was a navigator's nightmare. Gravity storms, shifting minefields, and ghost signatures. The battle was a chaotic, three-dimensional slaughter. The Vindicator danced through hell, its dark matter beams lancing through enemy ships. But the cost was staggering. Escort ships vanished in fireballs. Denis's fleet was being bled dry. Rythus's flagship, a monstrous dreadnought with a planet cracker device already charging, broke free from the melee. Prepare for ramming course, Denis ordered quietly, his voice deadly calm. But then, a new voice cut through the static. Requiem inbound. Admiral Barrett's flagship, battered and scorched, plowed into the fight, guns blazing, drawing fire. Now, Denis barked. The Vindicator surged forward, pouring everything it had into the enemy dreadnought. At point-blank range, the planet cracker ship's core went critical. It erupted, the shockwave hammering the Vindicator, but it held. Cataclysm Wing was destroyed. The doomsday threat was ended. But as Denis stood on the ruined bridge, surveying the graveyard of his own ships, he knew this was not victory. It was survival, purchased at an unspeakable price. Rythus had fled, slipped away on a stealth courier while his fleet burned. He wasn't running for safety. He was running for one last weapon. The Zero's Abyss, Barrett explained, her face carved from stone. A pre-council weapons vault. Things the galaxy buried because they were too dangerous to exist. If Rythus unleashes them, this war goes beyond genocide. The hunt was on. D&E led a lean, deadly task force into the abyss, a rogue sector where the laws of physics frayed at the edges. It was a brutal chase through gravitational storms and fields of dead stars. On the 9th day, they found it, a colossal, ancient station half buried in a broken planetoid. Rythus was inside, trying to arm a gravitic imploder large enough to collapse the entire sector. D&E led the boarding party himself, fighting through the vault's horrific arsenal and fanatical defenders. In the core, the final confrontation. Stay back, Rythus screamed, a wild, fanatic light in his eyes. I'll take us all with me. D&E stepped forward, weapon steady. You've already lost. You think this is victory? Rythus laughed, a broken, wheezing sound. Without us, there is only chaos. Then we'll take chaos over your corpse. One shot, clean and final. The architect of humanity's near extinction fell, and the last great monster of the Council was dead. Rythus's death broke the Council's spine. The Empire crumbled. Warlords turned on each other. But one bastion remained, Galathar, the last Council core world where a coalition of the Old Guard, led by a desperate High Archon Valen, had gathered. The final assault was the largest military operation in human history. The entire Dark Fleet, joined by volunteers from liberated worlds and even defected Council ships, descended on Galathar. The battle was brutal, but the outcome was never in doubt. D&E led the final push into the Assembly Citadel. He found Valen in a grand chamber, clinging to the tattered robes of his dead empire. So, the Terran Butcher comes to play Conqueror, Valen sneered. Your empire is dead, Denis said, his voice flat. You'll answer for every life you stole. You think this is peace? Valen laughed. You will become what we were. The galaxy demands order. You will have to provide it, through power or through chains. We'll take power, then, Denis said. And no chains, he raised his weapon. You can't. One shot. The last High Archon fell. The war was over. Weeks later, D&E Keller stood in his ready room aboard the Vindicator, gazing out at the stars. The Terran Assembly had declared victory. Celebrations echoed from Earth to the galactic rim. New alliances were being forged. The galaxy was being remade. He felt none of it. The cost was a ghost that lived behind his eyes. The face of his brother, Jacob. The crew of the Ragnarok. The children of New Carthage. Admiral Barrett visited him one last time before returning to Earth. "You've earned your place in history," she said quietly. "The man who broke the council." Denny shook his head, his gaze never leaving the starfield. "I didn't do this for history." His voice was a low whisper, meant only for himself and the ghosts. "I did it so we would never have to kneel again." The galaxy was watching. The Dark Fleet stood unmatched. The Terran banner flew where none had dared before. But as he looked at the star map, he saw no enemies left to conquer. He saw only the crushing weight of 1,000 worlds looking to Earth for answers. Valen's last words echoed in the silence. "You will become what we were." The stars didn't offer peace. They only offered a throne of ash. And he would sit on it, because humanity would never, ever kneel again.